So we are coming into this time of vacation and summer and sunshine and blue skies and swimming and all of the things, the wonderful things that go with summertime and the feeling of summertime. And so I want to talk about a virtue of Ryokan-san, the virtue of lightheartedness, which in our American explanation we often think of something that is carefree, a way to forget the rest of life, to just go and enjoy oneself, to not care about anything else. But in the Buddha Dharma, lightheartedness is to hold in one hand the suffering of the world, and in the other a lightheartedness in recognition of the true Dharma. So lightheartedness is an important virtue and one of the great virtues of Ryokan-san. Ryokan-san, our patron saint, as it were, who was known for extraordinary lightheartedness. And yet Ryokan-san suffered deeply about the condition of the world and the condition of the people with whom he lived, among whom he lived, and was certainly not absent from seeing the cataclysms and the difficulties of his time. And Ryokan said, I have seen all of the sufferings of the world, and I cannot imagine not suffering with them. So we know very well that he suffered, but he also held this spirit of lightheartedness, particularly among the children with whom he exchanged games and playfulness, and who he also tutored in language and in writing and reading. So this spirit of playfulness and game playing games together, is a very important activity. And we tend to look on it as, once again, as something that we are just doing aside from everything else, and we're getting away from it all by playing games. But playing together is a very deep aspect of the Dharma, and there's a lot going on in its meaning when we talk about playing games together. I have said to you before many times that I grew up in a household where my mother believed that playing together was more important than praying together. She said, when you play together, that is what holds a family together. So our playing together, as we do, is an essential aspect of the Sangha. That the Sangha must, of course, come together on the cushion. It's the point from which we begin. But we also must find ways to play together and exchange and meet one another in a particular way that happens when we play games together. So this is from Shobogenzo, Dogen Zenji. Wanshi Shogaku was a student of Mount Tendo, so several names before Tendo Nyojo. So meditation master Wanshi Shogaku of Mount Tendo in Chingguan Prefecture was a Dharma heir of Abbot Tanka Shijun. And he once said, when we discuss this matter, which my master Tanka has brought up, it is just like the two of us playing a game of Go. If you do not respond according to the move I made, I will have caught you off guard. If you experience that this is what has happened, you will be able to grasp Tozan's intention right off. I cannot help but add the following comment in verse. When he looked inside himself, there was no cold or hot, for in an instant the vast ocean had dried up to its very last drop. I say that I can catch the great turtle by just picking it up, but I can't help laughing as you go fishing for it in the sand. The great turtle is awakening, by the way. So the reading continues. This is still Wanshi Shogaku. For the moment, let's say that, this is Dogen Zenji now. For the moment, let's say that there is a game of Go. Well, how about these two players? If we call it a two-person game of Go, there could be an eight-stone handicap. If there is an 8-stone handicap, it would hardly be a game of Go, would it? But if I were to describe it, it would be something like the following. The game of Go is simply a player and his opponent encountering each other. Be that as it may, you should keep in mind Wanshi's statement. If you do not respond according to the move I made, focusing on it single-mindedly, and while cloaking yourself in it, make a thorough exploration of it. His saying, if you do not respond according to the move I made, is equivalent to his saying, you can never be me. Do not pass over his saying, I will have caught you off guard. Within mud there is the mud. The one who walks in it washes his feet, and also washes his chin strap, meaning wades in the mud all the way up to here, totally engages in practice. Within a pearl, there is the pearl. When it is radiant, it illumines both oneself and others. So what Wanshi Shogaku and Dogen Zenji are both referring to this is about what happens when we engage together in a game, say a game of Go or a game of bocce or whatever game we take up together. Something happens. One makes a move of some kind, and if the other does not respond according to the move, will be caught off guard. If you experience that this is what happened, you will be able to grasp Tozan's intention right off. Intention to be one together. I cannot help but add the following comment. So he's saying, I say that I can catch the great turtle by just picking it up, but I can't help laughing as you go fishing for it in the sand. Meaning, if you aren't one and understanding that whenever we play any game together, we all become one, then you are fishing in the sand. You should keep in mind Wanshi's statement. If you do not respond according to the move I made, it's equivalent to your saying, you can never be me. Do not pass over his saying, I will have caught you off guard. So understand, we are never separate from one another. And something magical happens in that notion of game playing, where the Sangha assembles, comes together, and we do something very magical together. And there is no separation one to the other. So when my mother says the family that plays together stays together, we come to understand, we work out something together. We work out our awareness, our awarenesses of one another. And we work out what we understand together. And it is all in playfulness. And it is such a beautiful thing to see. So it is not just some idle gathering to toss off the time, to throw the time away. It is a deep joining in something very lighthearted and playful. Dogen Zenji himself did not play in the same way that Ryokan-san played. Ryokan-san played every day with something. He played ball, he played with the children, he played sing-song, he played hide-and-go-seek. And Dogen Zenji plays in a very particularly different way. He plays with language, and he plays with us in trying to move us around, to see continually, to see differently. He's got a twinkle in his eye when he is writing and speaking to us. Playing for the heart to open, playing for lightheartedness. There's further this playfulness is mentioned in another part in Shobogenzo. This mind is not ours or someone else's or something that comes to us. Yet, after this intention arises, the intention to awaken, the intention of bodhicitta, whenever we raise aloft the great earth, everything turns into gold. And whenever we sprinkle the waters of the great ocean, they immediately turn into the sweet dew. After that, whenever we lay hold of soil or rocks, sand or pebbles, we make use of this enlightened mind. And whenever we explore the gushing forth of water and the blazing up of fire, we are personally shouldering the enlightened mind. Hence, to offer as alms one's nation and city, one's spouse and children, the 7 treasures, men and women, one's head and eyes, one's marrow and brains, one's body and flesh, or one's hands and feet, all are the hustle and bustle of an enlightened mind. All are an enlightened mind's playfulness, which is like a fish frolicking in a pool of water. Well, this is the continuity of our practice, exchanging together, being together, giving forth, actually forgetting ourselves in our exchange together in Sangha, in practice. It's giving heartily, giving totally to what we are doing, abandoning our sense of personal self and releasing ourselves into the great treasure, the mind, the marrow, one's marrow and brains, one's body and flesh, in the hustle and bustle of an enlightened mind, the mind's playfulness. I'll read the rest of this little section because it further elucidates. It's a lot of words, but anyway. Generally speaking, the arising of mind and the realizing of truth rely upon the instantaneous arising and vanishing of all things. If things did not arise and vanish instantaneously, previous moments of evil actions would not yet have passed. And if previous moments of evil action had not yet passed, later moments of good actions could not arise now. Only a Tathagata alone clearly knows the measure of this moment. The teaching that our mind in any single moment can give rise to a single utterance, and that an utterance in any single moment can express a single word is also true. But it is true only of a Tathagata alone. This is not something that those of the other 2 courses are capable of. But Dogen is talking about how we do play together, how we come together and we allow the moments to pass. We allow, if that did not happen, we could not play games together. It could not happen. As a rule, there are 65 moments within the time it takes for someone to snap his fingers, during which the 5 skandhas, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, tongue, body, mind, that is, the 5 components of existence, arise and vanish. But ordinary, unawakened people have not noticed or recognized this, though they may have sensed it. Based on the length of this is a difficult word, takshana, which is comprised of 120 moments. In the passing of a single day and night, there are 6,400,099,980 moments, during each of which the 5 skandhas arise and vanish. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body. Even so, ordinary, unawakened people have not taken notice of this. And because they have not taken notice of it, they have not given rise to the enlightened mind. Those who do not know the Buddha Dharma, or who do not trust the Buddha Dharma, do not believe in the principle of the arising and vanishing of moments. So to me, because I'm talking about playfulness and playing games together and being Sangha together, Dogen can mean this, that we allow the moments to rise and fall together, and we respond to one another directly, to one another's actions, to one another's movement as awakened mind. To throw the bocce ball is just awakened mind. We don't have to be thinking, oh, here goes awakened mind and the ball is rolling along the grass. It already is that. But when we know it so thoroughly in ourselves, we can hold one another in the action of life together. The unspeakable content of what is happening in that exchange of playfulness, of game together. Something unspeakable is happening. Something unspeakable happens every time the Sangha comes together. When we just talk about how things are going, and we talk about plants or trees or whatever it is we talk about, something unspeakable is happening in our exchange. So in a sense, we ride along on this invisible road that we are all taking, that we are all moving along together. We ride along that road and we recognize one another and we play together. And all are an enlightened mind's playfulness, which is like a fish frolicking in a pool of water. So it behooves us to go out and play, to play with those around us, to laugh together, especially in the face of difficult times, remembering that we do not give up our recognition of suffering just because we are laughing and playing together. We do not let go of that at any time. We take that with us, and it is informed by that that lighthearted side of the Buddha Dharma. So perhaps you have some playful thoughts. Playing together is important Sangha practice. Playing with family is important practice. Are you? You have children? Do you
Two.
Two
Yes.
children. You know how important it is to play with your children.
Yes.
It's where you really come together. And Bob too. His children, and you have children and children. And all of you have some children around you if you don't have children who are born to you. So.
It seems to me I don't appreciate this lighthearted aspect of this playfulness, and it's so important because I can make practice so serious.
Yes, but we keep rousing
Deadly.
you to it, my dear. I think we
Deadly.
keep pulling you into it, and so
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I'm really beginning
Yeah.
to really appreciate that it the value of it and in the Dharma.
Yes.
And we're always meeting and responding to one another, but to do it in a lighthearted way and in a playful way is important.
Yeah. I mean, we must play, and at the same time, we must not put people on with our playing together. You know what I mean? We don't put people on when we play together.
What do you mean by that?
So we don't suppose that we are superior to somebody else, and we play them out in some way.
Yeah.
So we don't do that together, but we do play together in playful ways that are respectful of one another. Very definitely. So we are not sarcastic in that way together, or we don't. We just don't. We don't make ourselves superior in some way that we know more than somebody else by our playfulness.
Mm.
That was a great childlike aspect of Ryokan-san. He had no hesitation to play like a child, to be truly childlike, and just run around and play hide and go seek with the kids and whatever was needed. And yet he saw their suffering in very, very difficult times in Japan. He saw their suffering. And because they could play together, they could be relieved, they could let go of that suffering when they could have time to just really be children together. So,
when I play with my grandkids, or when I was in St. Louis visiting, I was playing with Ben, who is my nephew's son. I don't know what that meant. A great uncle, maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm floating in the lake, down at the lake, and he's really into monsters and superheroes. And so pretty soon, I'm a monster, and he's a superhero. And it's like, I'm kind of in his little world now.
Yeah.
And it was totally fun. I was having a great time. And, just splashing, and he's, So, I mean, that, to me, play is entering into that world that may not be the serious world or the real world or whatever, but there's that sharing, I think, in kind of an unself-conscious sharing of that little world, and it's really,
It's transforming.
it's wonderful. Yeah. The flip side, I mean, a lot of play involves winning or losing,
Yes.
and performing towards that end of winning. And I know I have to be good. I mean, of course I want to win.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't want to become attached to winning to the point where this becomes so serious.
Sure.
At any rate.
Yeah.
So.
In Australia, I played Farkle with. I brought the game to those kids and CJ's grandkids, and one of the boys was fairly young, and he got really, really upset when he didn't win. He had a very, very hard time. He was only about 5 or 6. Very hard time. And so his older brother, who's 12, won the game. And the kids started screaming, I lost! I lost! And I said, you didn't lose. He won. And he said, oh, yeah. It just dawned on him. So it made the future games a lot easier to be with. I will say that. But around age 6 is when kids get really upset when they don't win. So, anyway. So nice to see that Dogen Zenji has go in his dialogue, huh? There you have it. So you can look it up in your... I can't remember what chapter it's from, but it's easy to look up. So anyway, it's a good time. Summertime is that. We will be sitting retreat next week, and we will be doing creative work. And so there's deep playfulness in creative work also. Take it too seriously, and you just can't do anything. You can't let the creative juice flow and just be foolish or whatever you want to be on the page. Don't forget, Ryokan Sanskrit means great fool. Great fool. The fool is an important recognition, and I think that he actually selected that name. His teacher gave him Ryokan, but I think he selected great fool. So to not to be afraid to be foolish, to appear foolish, or even to look foolish in playing games, or whatever. But the fool is another big archetype, which we won't go into tonight, but that is clearly there, where we allow ourselves to not to try to appear any different from what is appearing when we do something creative. That's just what it is, without evaluating it or measuring it against somebody else's work. So we will be doing that kind of work next week, which I think is also good exercise for us in terms of laying down our own authentic voices and our own authentic work and being playful at it at the same time. So that's what we'll be doing, and so I'm looking forward to that as we take that on next week. So, anything else, anybody? Yeah. And if you don't have an opportunity to play, go find a place to play. Go find a way to play. Absolutely. Find a way to play, even on your own. If you don't have a friend to go out and play with, play something on your own. It's very good. It's very healthy. Excellent to do. So.